again, everybody. I'm excited to do another video here for you today. I have a subscriber goal that I'm hoping to meet, and one lucky person out there can help me meet it because I need 10. The goal is 10 subscribers, so I need one person to subscribe. You will make me so happy if you do. So, thank you in advance. I'm really excited about this simple little experiment that I have planned because I've heard conflicting information and I'd love to figure it out for myself. The main idea today is to figure out if there's a method of measuring flour into a measuring cup that is the most accurate. My idea here is to measure out the flour in 3 different ways. The way that I've heard is the most accurate is to scoop it into your measuring cup with the spoon until you've filled it up, and then once it's all full, swipe the top off with your hand or with a knife so that the whole top is level and smooth. The second way that I'm going to do it is the way that we naturally, I feel like, want to just measure the flour, which is shove the flour into the giant tub of flour, scoop it, and then level it. The third way that I'm going to do it is the same way that they're always telling you in recipes to measure out brown sugar, to compact it, just tightly pressed, I think. So I'm just gonna scoop it out and then I'm gonna press it to get the most flour in there that I can until it's like totally compressed and level. And we'll see, that one I would think should be the least accurate way because nobody ever tells us to measure flour that way, but I'm just curious how much worse it is. So, those are the 3 ways that I'm going to do it. I'm going to measure out in these different methods with 3 different measuring cups to also get an idea of, okay, how much discrepancy do I have between measuring cups too. And I'm also going to weigh it out every time on 2 different scales just to see if the scales are accurate to each other. Okay, now I'm going to start measuring. You can see I'm trying to be careful about recording everything really specifically. So I'm thinking to do each measurement 3 times so I get an idea of how much variation there is with just how I'm measuring in general as well. So I'm not going to bore you with talking as I go through each of these measurements. Possibly you'll get to see a nice little sped up version of it right now. Okay, we're all done with our measurements. You can see I've recorded all this data. So now I'm going to go do some data analysis and I'll get back to you on which is the best measurement method, best measurement cup, and tell you about the discrepancy between these scales. Okay, I've gone through and I've analyzed the data from our little flour measuring experiment. So let me explain my plot a little. On my y-axis here, it's the mass of flour in grams. My x-axis doesn't really mean anything. It just, I'm using it as a way to separate the different types of ways to measure the flour. And this blue region here that I've shaded in is the mass of flour that should be in 1 cup of flour according to Google. So the actual mass, according to Google, of 1 cup of flour should be somewhere between 120 and 125 grams.
Now here in these dots, I'm plotting the average mass of flour that I weighed using all the different measuring cups and all my different repetitions. So each of these little dots represents 9 measurements. And the lines here give you an idea of how much variation I had within those 9 measurements. So there was more variation in the tightly packed flour measuring method than in these other flour measuring methods. The only measuring method that got me the correct mass of flour that I should have gotten was using a spoon to scoop the flour into the measuring cup. So I think right there I've already discovered it. That's the right way to measure flour. If you do just a scoop of flour straight from your tub using the measuring cup, then you're gonna get around 15 grams extra of flour. And the tightly packing method got you around 50 grams extra of flour. So I would say that 15 grams is substantial enough that you should be careful and be using a spoon to scoop the flour. On the next plot here, I'm showing the same thing, except for I'm separating my pink and my black measuring scales from each other, the measurements that were done on each of those. I didn't think this was very interesting in the end, but punchline, the pink scale measured 1 extra gram of flour than the black scale measured at all times. And other than that, they were pretty similar. And then in this plot, I'm showing what my measurements were when I separate out for the 3 different measuring cups that I used. So the white one here is the plastic one, and the red and the blue are the 2 metal measuring cups that I used. And so it did vary a little, like my 2 metal ones weren't getting quite as accurate a measurement of flour as my plastic one. There's a little variety, but they're all fairly similar. And then I did think it was interesting that my plastic one had the most variation in how much flour I measured by a lot. My guess for that is that every time I used the plastic one, flour got stuck all along the side, like the outside edge of the plastic one. And so I would try and like scrape it off with my hand, but I couldn't get all the flour off of the outside edge that shouldn't be measured at all. But the 2 metal ones, the flour wouldn't stick to the side, to the outside, I guess just because they're made of metal. So that's my guess for why there's more variety in the plastic one, but it didn't make the plastic one really measure less accurately. So those are my 3 plots that I made for you today. I hope that was interesting. So in conclusion, I think we've definitively learned here that to get the most accurate amount of flour in your baking, you should be using a spoon to scoop spoonfuls of flour into the measuring cup. Thank you very much for listening to this video. If you have suggestions for little cooking experiments that I could do, feel free to write it in the comments. Once again, I would really appreciate 1 more subscriber to hit that lucky number 10. Thank you, and goodbye.